Hello, Arnold.
Hello, Arnold. Hello, Arnold.
Hello, Arnold.
Hello, Arnold.
Hello, Arnold.
How's it going, short man?
That's his surname! And I know, you know, I know. We all found this out years ago, but it's still fun. It's still a fun tidbit, and today we're going to find out a lot more tidbits from everyone's favorite goody two-shoed, football-headed boy. Hey Arnold, a fantastic Nicktoon from 1996. It starred the titular character Arnold as he dealt with real-life issues like bullying, alcoholism, societal structure, unrequited love, mental health, and personal struggles. What it didn't deal with was deleting yourself. The pigeon man just flew away, okay? It's not a metaphor. The creator said so, and I know, I'm disappointed too. But it is what it was, so let's not mention it anymore. This show really captured how childhood felt, a much deeper show that never felt condescending like a lot of other kids shows that came before. Arnold, don't call me short man, lives in a boarding house run by his grandparents Phil and Gertrude Pookie Shortman. No sign of his parents, but that's a whole thing we won't be dealing with. Hell, we aren't even really dealing with this show. This is Pilots, where we go back and see all the things that came together, leading to the classic show we all remember. Our boring football head goes back a lot further than you realize, and has many interesting twists and turns. In fact, my inspiration for wanting to even make these YouTube video films came when I discovered Arnold's strange precursors. So join me, your old pal Ashley, as we jump from Claymation beginnings, Simpson comic marriage nepotism, all the way up to weird pilots. This is the journey of Arnold and how he daydreamed his way into our shriveled cold hearts. We will start where we always start, with the creator, Craig Bartlett, who, FYI, voiced Brainy.
Huh? Brady, what are you doing here?
I don't know.
Ah, there's another tidbit. A lot more to come, so strap in. Little Craig Michael Bartlett, CMB, was born October 18th, 1956. His first word would come a year later, and you will never guess what it was. It was hey. Only messin'. Hay is for horses. Originally, Bartlett intended to become a painter, in the 19th century sense, whatever that means, but he became interested in animation during a trip to Italy. Allora, after graduating from college, CMB got his first job working at Will Vinton Studios. Here, CMB learned the ancient art of claymation. The studio was known for doing shows like the California Raisins, the PJs, as well as working on movies like Moonwalker, and, notably, The Adventures of Mark Twain, where CMB really learned to cut his teeth in animation. This claymation shtick, it's certainly distinctive. I don't much care for the particular look of most of these things I mentioned. I think the style works much better in short form, such as the Noid commercials, but watching that Adventures of Mark Twain seems like a nightmare, so I'll probably do it at some point in the future. That's what you people like, right? Misery! Maybe someone could pop up and say, no, don't do it, and I'll be like, I have to, you know, for views, and then we team up. Anyways, back to Mr. Craig. So he is working at this Will Vinton studio, learning and developing and stuff, and he decides to move to LA, where he animates on the Penny shorts that were part of Pee-wee's Playhouse. Penny, I guess you could say, is Helga-esque. I mean, she was a girl and has blonde hair, so we could make a reach there, but I think we collectively are better than that. I'm not, but together we balance out. She has pennies for eyes, which is weird and I don't like it. She was actually created by Nick Park, the Wallace and Gromit guy. Yet another tidbit. You've learned a lot today, but there's more to come. While working on Penny, Mr. Craig created a sleepy, daydreaming character named Arnold. To be clear, I don't think we ever see Arnold in Penny. He was just created and developed as he was working on the shorts. If you look at the Arnold animation side by side with Penny, it's clear what the inspiration was. This isn't your fancy Mark Twain animation. Oh, no sir. Before we watch these primordial Arnold cartoons, let's discuss the big football-shaped head in the room. Arnold is a freak. A weird freak. But why? Well, like all things, it is Matt Groening's fault. He strikes again. Matt Groening, man. I don't know. I feel he sells himself as this self-made hippie, but his father Homer was actually a filmmaker, so he had a lot of connections. But this isn't about Big Matt, it's about the real underdog, Little Craig. Groening and Mr. Craig met while he was working on Pee-wee's Playhouse. Matt at this stage was probably most famous for his underground comic Life in Hell, but this is in 1987, so it's around the time of the Simpsons shorts on The Tracy Ullman Show. Needless to say, Big Matt is riding high and just throwing out advice willy-nilly. In fact, Rooney, Little Craig credits Big Matt's influence and guidance as helping in developing his own projects, including Hey Arnold. Particularly the shape of the head. As Matt said, you need a strong silhouette, and my god, did Craig take that to heart! Other advice while we're on the subject was Matt telling young Craig you need to do 10 years of awful jobs before you get to the good ones. Well, I'm on 16 years of bad jobs and counting, so things just are looking up any day now for old Ashley. Another tidbit that is mildly interesting to say the least is that Little Craig went on to marry Matt's sister Lisa, whom I'm sure you're all aware of is the namesake for the character in The Simpsons. So the real life Lisa married the real life Brainy. Wow, she should have just punched him in the face and kept going. Lisa is actually a producer on the early Arnold shorts. The couple eventually would go their separate ways, but that's just life though, isn't it? It happens. A sad tidbit, but a tidbit all the same. Maybe to lighten the mood, we should watch these Arnold shorts that were shown on Sesame Street.
See if you can guess who this is. Mommy!
The first short is mercifully short, though to be fair, not short enough. It's weird. Arnold doesn't say much or even anything at all. He just is a bit dozy. Is that okay to say? Dozy? So here he is on his way to church, and his dad clearly has no head. Okay? Maybe he lost it from sticking it out the window like we see Arnold doing. If you want to keep that football head, you better pull it back in right now, idiot. I have to say, well, I don't have to say it, but I will say it, that this short really captures the feel of a Catholic church. I got a bit of PTSD, honestly. Just like Arnold, I would daydream, but the stuff he daydreams is just random and kinda messed up. A lot of war imagery, something that we will see more of later on in his comics. We also get a bunch of dinosaurs, and we see Arnold escape the church through his imagination. So the one thing that pops out the most to me is when we see birds fly out of his head as he takes off his hat. I guess they're saying he is bird-brained. Real nice, guys. We get to see some later show characters. Helga and Harold both look pretty cool. Better than Stoner Arnold, that's for sure, and his conservative little suit, the softie. If I had to pick a favorite shot, it's the bit with Satan, Death, and a dinosaur. Oh, and a snake. Good stuff. The short just ends, no pun, very bland. The Groenings are all over the credits, which is neat. Interesting in its look and being an Arnold thing, but otherwise not great. Let's watch another! The second short, titled The Arnold Waltz, this time features our hero daydreaming in class and later in music class. That's right, double the fun. To be fair though, it is a much better short. It actually has some pacing. Mostly, it has the perfect cutoff point and joke at the end, but then it just keeps going a little bit longer than it needs to for literally no reason. I guess they wanted to set up an after the credits voice joke, but I think they would have been better off ending it earlier. The animation is also much better. Better movements and visuals all around. We see him imagining Harold and Helga in different scenarios as he skates around them. I also just like this animation on Helga as she heads to the music class. Oh, tidbit alert, the music was recorded by Homer Groening in 1965. Craig really endearing himself here to the Groenings. This was a big step up, so let's watch the third one. Excitedly titled Arnold Sitting on a Chair. I regret this, but let's see what happens, I guess. It starts with Arnold strapping in for what I'm sure will be some sort of weird trip, and it was. Nailed it. This was actually the best one. Pacing mastered and the production on point. We get much better audio quality overall with a voice describing Arnold's effective imagining. Lots of great perspective tricks in this one, and just seems so much more fun and colourful. No morbid armies or freezing Helga to death. Speaking of Helga, that's the only flaw. There's no Helga or Harold, but that's a real nitpick. Number 3 was an absolute banger. Sometimes it takes a couple goes to get things right. I think they for sure could have done more with this Walter Mitty imagination angle, but as you can already see, it's very different from our final Hey Arnold in both look and tone. So what happened next? Well, Mr. Craig went to work on the Rugrats as a writer this time, not an animator, so interesting pivot. We'll see if it pays off. Here he worked with TheAshTube favourite Paul Germain, who went on to make Recess. Working on this show, he would meet future writers he would take with him to Hey Arnold, but most importantly, he continued to develop the character. Thanks to his Groening connections, he got a slot in Simpsons Illustrated magazine to publish some Arnold comics. The magazine gave him a chance to further develop the character, and this time in your favourite animation style and mine, 2D. They are all generally quite short and are nice light reads. We get to see other characters from the show pop up, like everyone's favourite pervert Brainy, this one here stood out to me. I believe this is one of the first ones, but I have no way of finding out really. That would require work, but it is very similar to the Claymation shorts. Arnold is in the classroom exactly like in Arnold Waltz. The kids stand up to pledge the oath of allegiance to the American flag, which, FYI America, is super weird and super North Korean. As is tradition, Arnold loses control of reality and daydreams war all around himself in a nod back to that first Claymation short. The gag is he raises his hand to what I hope is him imagining an adoring crowd, but not the other thing, and is asked if he has a question. A classic daydreaming Arnie bit. The bar comic above this strip of him working in the quickie market is actually a better read. I would have loved this magazine. Let's look at another comic, a later one. You will understand why in a few minutes, why I chose this particular one. As you can see from a quick glance, the art style has come a long way and is far more dynamic and for some reason in 3D. Why? They don't really look like the show counterparts fully, but you can tell who is who. The vague doodle man here could be Stinky Peterson, and this demented boy is clearly a grown-up Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats. Anyways, the comic starts with little Helga pressuring Discount Harold to go beat up that stupid football head stoner Arnold. Hey, he said the thing! He said the show title! Eee! Harold asks Arnold why he shouldn't beat him up, and Arnold gives the coldest reply. He's crazy and you should never beat up crazy people. He then proves it by going into a maniacal performance of Michigan J. Frog's classic Ragtime Gal.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss, my wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
Harold, impressed, asks Arnold to join their ugly girls club, leaving an unimpressed Helga saying the classic line, "Boys are so stupid." She's not wrong. Love this comic, and I would love to buy a collection of these. All the ones I have seen so far and read have been very nice. Okay, so we're now in the future time of 1993, and after working for a while on Rugrats, Mr. Craig teams up with 5 other writers to develop animator projects for Nickelodeon. CLB later recalled that their ideas were okay, but such a large and motley group couldn't get far at pitch meetings. As a last resort, he played his penny episodes and the Arnold cartoons, with the suits taking a liking to this football-headed boy. Penny may have had coins for eyes, but it was our boy Arnold who they saw money in. The nerds immediately begin work on developing who Arnold was, as let's be honest, he was pretty much a blank, bottomless pit when it came to personality. We did a lot of talking about who Arnold is. We came up with a reluctant hero who keeps finding himself responsible for solving something, making the right choices, doing the right thing. After they were more or less happy with Arnold, Mr. Craig cracked on with developing the colourful and frankly more interesting characters around him. A lot of them were based on people from Craig's life. I bet that awful husband Oscar was based on Matt Groening. No, I'll stop. Matt's nice. He looked after his brother-in-law and he's rich, so I want him to like me. Seriously though, Oscar is probably the most detestable, awful character in a show filled with horrible people.
I gave you $100 2 days ago.
Susie, you're not
know I had to use it to pay the phone bill.
Oscar, they cut off our phone service this morning.
I know, it's a terrible mistake. We should sue.
Oh, Oscar, that just doesn't make any sense.
Tell me about it. So can I have the $50?
I don't have $50. We've already spent my paycheck this week.
What about your overtime?
I work 20 hours a week overtime already. How many more hours do you want me to work?
How about 25?
Oscar!
The girls in the show were all based on girls from his own life, and yeah, that's basically what all you girls are like from a boy's point of view. He nailed it. You are a mysterious, confusing bunch of grapes, honestly. All this development and planning leads to the first Hey Arnold pilot in 1994. 10 minutes long and simply titled Arnold. It was shown before Harriet the Spy, Nickelodeon's first feature-length film. So, no more beating around the bush, let's dig in. The first thing you will notice is the animation style. It's not the nice, sleek series look we would get, it's very rough with ugly colors. What I like about this pilot though is that they remade it for the show so I can do this now. Show you a bunch of side-by-sides. Would you look at that, huh? Oh, how about this? Boy, this sure is something. I'll look at more comparisons later, but let's look at what we got here right now, together, today. Shockingly, we get Arnold daydreaming away just like the Clay days when he is woken up to take the bat. He is obviously terrible and Harold insults his silly grandma who, to be fair, is a crazy old kook. Anyways, this makes Arnold mad and he ends up inadvertently knocking Harold out. When he comes to, Harold is about to give our boy a knuckle sandwich but is saved last minute by his boo. Ooh, Helga likes Arnold, Helga likes Arnold. So Arnold has a day to live and I want you to listen to these next clips.
Hey Arnold, 23 hours till you die! Arnold! 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 Hey Arnold! Move it, football head, you're up!
It's the opening! Arnold! 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 Every few weeks, I swear, I just think, Arnold! And it all started here. I am 90% sure that these are the same sound bites from the iconic opening. And even the shots have clearly gone on to inspire some of the shots from it. When Arnold gets home, we get a funny joke which is made less funny in the series remake.
So you want to come up and eat with us? No thanks. I've had your grandma's cooking, and I'd rather be chewed to death by rabid weasel.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
You want to come up and eat with us?
Your grandma cooking tonight?
Yeah.
No thanks. I gotta go wash my dog.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
He talks to his grandpa for advice, who guesses his predicament but has no idea what to do. Grandpa is voiced by Dan Castellaneta, so more Simpsons connections right here. I love his grandpa voice, it's just so over the top and old, but it's still so energetic.
Shoot it at me, short man.
Shoot it at me, short man! It also sounds nothing like his Grandpa Simpson. He is hilarious and one of the best parts of the series, but man, his design always creeped me out. He's just so old and bony. Tress MacNeille, the absolute ledge, plays Arnold's grandma. You might know her from such roles as Mom from Futurama and the Warner sister Dot. Here she is at her kookiest. We get our first view of Arnold's room, and let's be honest, anyone who has ever watched this series has wanted this room. This is probably a good place to point out the smooth jazz soundtrack of the show. Composed by Jim Lang, who did the series and both movies, Arnold eventually falls asleep to the lullaby that is Helga shouting down the time until he dies. Here we get some classic old school Arnold. We get a dream sequence of him being a giant and climbing a building. He tears off the top antenna and uses it like a bat to keep the other kids back. The kids in the dream run away when he acts crazy, which inspires the final act solution. This sequence is done so much better in the later remake, with Arnold and the kids running through the city. Just put any characters into a miniature city and I'm hooked. Batman, Hot Fuzz, Spider-Man, it's always a good time. When Arnold finally wakes up, he seems cool and determined, grabbing his hi-fi stereo as he meets Gerald outside, who gives him a knowing look, as if he understands the outrageousness that is about to unfold somehow. From this point on, it becomes pretty much an adaptation of that earlier comic strip, huh? See? Picked it for a reason. Before Arnold takes him to Pound Town, Arnold warns him not to hit him because he's crazy. We then get this.
1, 2, 3, watch me! Hey!
Watch me! Ah! Now you think you got to put me down. Now you think you got to push me all around. For the white, don't hit me. Woo! Ow, hit me. Man, I got a date. I got to break a later. Don't hit me. Ow, hit me. I'm crazy.
Wow, he certainly is crazy. We don't get Ragtime Gal like in One Froggy Evening, but something much weirder and frankly much better. The song is I'm Crazy and was written by Jim Lang, Craig Bartlett and Joe Ansel-Bahir, who you probably also remember from the Recess episode. The song itself was sung by deceased R&B singer Gavin Christopher. I actually really like it. Just like the comic, it ends with Harold inviting Arnold to join the club and they all head off, leaving Helga's immortal line,
Oh, boys are so stupid.
she's not wrong. The pilot does a great job of introducing the world and characters of Hey Arnold. We get creepy Brainy getting vicious punches in the face as he creeps over Helga, poetically pining for her Arnold. We see other characters in the background as well who would go on to be show regulars, most prominently Stinky. Honestly, I think the only thing that stands out as particularly weird for me is Arnold. Maybe I need to rewatch the whole series, but I never remember him acting like this in the main show, and even when the remake would turn up in circulation, it always felt a little out of place. Speaking of the remake, it follows this pilot very closely. Any differences are generally scenes being expanded or characterization changes to fit the series episodes, as this comes out near the end of season 1. The animation in the remake is just so much better, fully refined, smoother, and the colors all work amazingly. The pilot colors are a bit of a disaster, and speaking of disaster, Arnold only works from certain angles, and it's always weird when we see the side of his head. Even Family Guy Stewie could never get this look right. It's all well and good having an interesting silhouette until you try to animate it. The remake does a much better job at handling this with a better side head design and generally avoiding showing it at all costs. The only time I remember seeing it in the remake is at a distance, and it looked much better than all the other side head attempts with the character thus far. So, overall, how would I rate the pilot? Ugly colors aside, it was really good. At about 10 minutes, it really flew by and they expanded the one-page comic so effectively. You don't notice how long it is, and it introduces all the most important characters we would come to know in the show. This Arnold pilot is well worth the watch, and in fact, the whole show is worth rediscovering, so give yourself a treat and rediscover it. That's it for this episode of Pilots. Make sure to subscribe if you want more of me saying things which you listen to, as well as hearing my jealous ramblings about Matt Groening. More like Matt complaining, am I right? Got him. Like and subscribe.